Finance and Personnel Committee. The time is 7:15. We'll begin with roll call. Jim Olson.
Here.
Kim Smith is here. Jerry Every.
Here.
And item 2, approval of minutes from the previous meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Jerry to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3 is public input. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the committee? Public input, would anybody like to address the committee? Last chance, if anyone would like to address the committee. All right, we're moving on to the main portion of our agenda. Under Finance, item 4, the 2018 Omni Center financials. Fred, can you give us a summary?
Okay, and I have to apologize because I've been jumping from one year to another year, back to the first year, and really those should have said 2019 financials.
Oh, sure, yep.
But anyway, we can talk about 18, 19, whichever year you wish. The audit is actually on Monday. The Omni Center financials, that the unaudited financials for 2018 are going to be coming in with the revenues at $608,242 and expenditures at $622,158 with a deficit of $13,916. In reference to the 2019 financials that you have in front of you in the packet, we have 1 month. January bills are paid in February, so we have 1 month under our belt. We have the revenues of $73,209 and expenses of $92,394. Now keep in mind, there's a 2-month lag of room tax. So the room tax for January is not due until the end of February or into March by the time we get it. Just wanted to mention that to you, and then like always, we transfer on a quarterly basis dollars coming from the Special Projects Fund, which in a year totals around 60-some thousand, split over 4 quarters. And then there's a little bit of dollars beside the room tax, 1% of the room tax coming in to the Omni Center, roughly another $3,500 per quarter. Other than that, I have nothing more on the Omni Center unless you have any questions for me.
Does the committee have any questions for Fred?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Jim to approve the Omni Center financials and place them on file. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 5 is the 2018 general fund financials.
Again, going before the audit, I don't expect anything unusual in reference to the general fund. The general fund for 12/31/2018 is showing excuse me. We're having $9,522,632 in revenue and expenses of $9,211,746 with a surplus of $310,886. And I believe last month we talked about where the positive items were on the general fund revenue side, and then we modified last month, moved the dollars around to be GASB and GAAP compliance. In reference to the 2019 financials that you have in front of you, we have 1 month again. For the general fund, we show a revenue of $417,000, and we have expenditures of $1.1 million. And the reason for that major change there is there is a journal entry that I do to doing the transfer of the tax agency fund that is not reflected in the financials that you have for taxes. And a lot of our, all of our insurance for the city of Onalaska is due on the upper end on the first quarter for like the cities and villages, all the insurances that we have through CIVMIC. Other than that, in reference to the account that always brings attention is Jared's account for snow and ice, and maybe Jared wants to make a little comment about where we stand for the city.
Thank you, Fred. At this point, we have been working off of what we had in the salt shed before the beginning of the season. We started the season with approximately 1,600 tons of salt. We have approximately 400 to 500 left in our salt shed. With that, we put in our order for the 400 tons that we had coming, and it's not going to come. They don't have any salt, even though it's under state contract. They ran out. We are not anticipating that delivery. So for the early fill, we will be early filling the salt shed, so we'll probably need at least 1,000, if not 1,100 tons, and that's assuming no more snow. And if you look at the forecast this weekend, that probably is not realistic. So we probably are projecting that we will be over budget in salt and sand usage again. I'll be bringing a report probably April, May. They'll have more specific numbers. But right now, we haven't spent any of the money yet because we're working off supplies on hand. The one thing I will say that we have been using a lot of fuel, overtime. We're not over budget yet, but you know those accounts are getting fully used, and we have had quite a few repairs. We had a little over $4,000 truck repair already this year, plus many miscellaneous repairs. So I'm sure the same thing with Dan's department, doing all the sidewalks and the stuff that he's got to maintain. Also with the Parks Department, it's been kind of brutal the last 6 weeks.
And if I heard you correctly earlier, there are a couple of communities that have no salt.
That is correct. We have communities around us that have ran out of salt.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your report. Does the committee have any further questions? No. I have a motion?
Motion to approve general fund financials? Second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Jim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 6, discussion regarding Resolution 15-2019 to establish a budget stabilization account. Jerry, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This was something I thought maybe we could consider. Can't hear me, I'm sorry.
It's on.
It's on.
Just have to get your mouth right by it.
Something I would hope we could take a look at and consider. It's just a little bit different twist on kind of what we're doing now, except that it would do two things. It would help us to keep the tax levy level, and at the same time, we could be designating our money the way we spend it, just exactly the way we do now, and we would have money to put into our surplus. So we would accomplish all three of those things. I think if we, obviously, you know, there may be times when we can't do that. We may not have money to put into surplus. That could occur at any time with any kind of system that you're on. But what my thought was that this is a way that we could do exactly what we're doing now. Nothing would change, except that we'd just be putting money in different places, at the same time keeping the levy level, or as level as we could. So my hope was that we could really get together and talk about it all together at one time, and flesh it out and see if it is something we're interested in now or maybe in the future. As a matter of fact, it might be more timely when we get the new council. So I guess what I'm asking is, and I'm sure you probably have read through it, and you have a lot of questions or some questions, but my idea was hopefully that we could somehow get a discussion going on this and bring it up again, talk about it, see if it'll work for us. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. This idea comes right from the state of Wisconsin. There are people that are doing this type of thing. And this comes out of the legislative branch. So that was my idea, and I'd be interested to hear your comments.
I have one question, Jerry. Do you know, can you tell us, are there several communities of similar size that have already enacted something like this? And could you tell us what they were so we could look into?
I couldn't tell you. If you want to go to the Legislative Bureau website, there's quite a bit of information there, and they might have it there. And that's where most of this information came from. But this is a real flexible document. I mean, the figures that are mentioned and the percentages and things like that, you can vary and make them anything you want. But the fact of the matter is, in our particular case, it would free up immediately some money that's now in the surplus, but at the same time, keeping at least 25%, which is the percentage that most of the municipalities are using for a surplus amount, 25% of their budget expenditures. So that's what I tried to do, and again, my idea was to think about this and see if maybe it would be something we could do. I know there are places that we would like to spend money that, you know, we never seem to have enough, obviously, but this would free up some of that money for some things that we want to do. And so that might be helpful, and at the same time, keeping the levy level or near level, which kind of keeps the taxpayers happy. So that was my idea. I don't know where you want to take it from here, but I was hoping that we could possibly do some more discussion on this, or hopefully refer it to the Committee of the Whole or to the Common Council, and to get future direction on what we want to do with it.
Well, I think what we talked about is at this point, we would need to have more discussion here till we could get to the point of a viable document. But I guess listening to what you're saying and having read the document, like the first thing you said is keep the tax levy level. You said you had 3 goals. Keep the tax levy level, keep the budget as it is now, but any excess money would go into the surplus fund. Right? Those are your 3 goals of this? That's what you said, right?
Again, please, I'm sorry. I did.
When you introduced your item this evening, you said it had 3 goals. To keep the tax levy level,
Mhm.
to keep the budget as it is now, and to put money into a surplus fund.
Yeah, exactly. The budget procedure wouldn't have to change much at all from what we're doing. Right now, we are taking some of that surplus and using it for specific things, which statute allows. But you better be very specific about what you're going to
Yeah.
do with that. And that had better be where you spend it. And we may have some other specific things that we want to designate funds for.
I guess I'm just not really seeing what the advantage is. So you feel this tax levy has been erratic?
No, I didn't
Okay.
think that at all, no.
But if this is going to help keep it level, isn't it fairly level already?
It has been fairly level, yes,
Yes.
except for this year.
So that, I guess I'm not really seeing what the advantage of changing to this method is.
The advantage would be that you're going to free up some money that's currently in the surplus account. You can use it for things that you might want to designate now to use it for, specific designations. And then you still would have money that you're putting into the surplus, making sure that a reasonable effort has got to be made to keep a certain amount of money in surplus.
So you're saying we don't have enough money in surplus?
No, I'm saying that we have enough and we could probably have less.
But this would help us have money in a surplus fund?
You'll always have money in the surplus fund with this system as long as you're going to have a surplus. If you don't have a surplus, there's nothing to put in any place. But you'll always have some money to put in there with this system. So the only way you wouldn't is if you're not making any money at all.
Okay.
It's just a little bit different twist on how to do it. But we
Sure.
could accomplish some things that we might want to do sooner than we thought we could.
Okay. Well, I guess I'd like to see, like, maybe it in action in another community of similar size. I mean, that would help me be able to work out some of the details of how this would be advantageous as compared to what we're doing now when we have an excellent bond rating. The city is in sound financial shape right now, so it's difficult to consider making changes to the way that we manage our money.
Mhm.
And then the way you're describing this, it doesn't really seem like it's a difference to me. I'm sorry if I'm not understanding it, but maybe if I had an example of a community that could help me.
That, I'm not going to research that for you. That you can do yourself
Okay.
if you want to go.
But you have not done that. You have not researched any other community that has done this.
No.
And yet you're confident it would make a difference
Yes, I am.
for us?
Yes. Mhm. Yep. The Legislative Bureau seems to think it would, and they would have all the information for you. If you'd want to research it there, you can. They're experts in this type of thing. So, and that's where this document comes from. But as I said, it's a flexible document. Obviously, the amounts and the percentages are going to change depending on what you want to do and what you want to accomplish.
The document came from that website?
This document would come largely from them, yes.
Okay.
And you'll see that on there. I didn't, this is mine, my own, I generated this, but the ideas are all in the Legislative Bureau, so I think I did say that, and you could have referenced that if you wanted to, but that's where it's at. But if you want comparisons, that I'm not gonna go to each community and find out what they do. That's not my purpose. The idea here was that it might be something that might fit here because we got some things we want to do. It might be a good way to do it. So to flesh it out further, you'd have to have the city administrator and the finance director and legal people take a look at it. We'd have to decide on what kind of money we would want to use and what percentages we would want to use. That should be a council decision. And so it's another one of those things that I think you need to take a look at and sort it out and talk about it and see how you feel about it. It might work, maybe it wouldn't. But I don't think it would do any harm.
Okay.
So.
Are there any other questions?
No,
Are there?
Well, we're all together.
No,
Yeah, I'm sure you
I asked my
the
question.
only thing, that I'm questioning is, you don't know of any municipalities that are currently doing this way.
Apparently, that's the mantra. No, I don't. Okay, that's what you.
Okay.
So no. If you folks want to do that, you'd go ahead and do that.
Well,
You could do
I'm-
each one, But I'm not comparing us to anybody. I think we're unique. We have a good situation here. Things are going well. To me, this would just make it run a little bit better, and we could do it in a way that doesn't look like we're constantly asking for more money.
Well, I'd like to be a little bit more unconfused, but,
Well, I think if you read through the document and try to think to yourself, what would I think about it? It might help. But again, I think the final decision has got to be a council decision, and it's got to fit our situation. So I didn't want to take a lot of time to do that, but that's basically the idea.
Okay.
What I would like to see happen is it would have further discussion.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the committee?
Well, I don't know.
Didn't we discuss this at council before?
No.
We referred it back to this committee because this is the working committee. This is where we should flesh this out, not at council, but that's my opinion.
That, if there's any merit in this, there must be somebody else that's using this somewhere in municipalities in Wisconsin. And if this is an idea that you're for, then some of that information must be available to you. And if it's your
Again-
idea, I don't know why you ask us to go research this, because it's your idea.
Well, because it's obvious to me that this is kind of the common mantra, and that this is a common question, so obviously there'd been some talk about it. I had hoped that that wouldn't go that way, but apparently it is. Actually, what I wanted to do was just to talk about it and discuss it, not look for ways that it won't work. I think we do too much of that here. We look for ways that things won't work, rather than look for ways things will work. And we need to do more of that. And I don't think we can do it with the situation that we have and the setup that we have.
But Jerry, the thing I wasn't even to the part of really looking, you were saying 3 reasons that you think that we need to change it, and I don't have buy-in on those. I mean, keep the budget as it is now, that's not an impedance for change. Keep the tax levy level. I don't think we're having a problem with our tax levy. Have money in a surplus fund. I don't think we want to have, we have enough money in our surplus fund. Like you need to, obviously when you budget, you don't want to be under budget every year. You'd like to be just a little over that. It means you did a good job and you're not scraping at the end of the year, and what I'm looking for in this discussion is finding some reason to change when the city is in good financial situation right now. Why would we want to change it? And then the way you're describing it, I understand it's partly because you probably feel defensive, you're trying to defend your idea, but I'm not trying to shoot down your idea, I'm trying to envision how it could work here in our community. And one of the ways I could do that is by seeing how it worked in another community. And then also, before that, I would need to see why we would change our budget process, because I think we're in sound financial position right now, and I don't think there's any way you can discredit that. So that's why I'm asking for like an example of why these people did it and how it worked for them, what improvements they saw.
I'm not defending my idea. I'm defending an attitude that I ascertain here. But I'm not talking about changing the budget. Your budget is going to change every year, and every year you're going to need more revenue, I would assume.
Right.
That's just the way things are going. And as long as expenditures and revenue are balanced, we're okay with the state. The fact of the matter is, we have had surpluses in the last, if you read through there,
Yeah.
And they're substantial. I'm saying that there's more that we could do with that than what we're doing, rather than let it sit in a surplus account.
Yes. And I'm saying that
You might gain interest.
taking away a lot of the words out of this resolution, because to me it's very wordy, and just boiling it down to the fact of the matter of saying, if we have excess revenue at the end of the year, instead of expending it on needed items like we do now, we will hold a percentage of it aside in like a rainy day account. That's the substance of what you would like to do.
No.
That is not,
That's
okay.
what we're doing now. And that's what I'm saying that I would like to see changed. I would like to see us use more of that money for designated items, things that we want to accomplish, specific items. I do not like it when we use the money to buy non-budgeted items at the end of the year or wish list items. And I've stated that, I don't know how many meetings you've heard me say, well, you haven't, but if you've been here 2 years, you've heard me say it a lot. I don't think that's the way to spend taxpayers' money. If you're gonna buy something with unbudgeted funds, it should be going through the regular process, the regular approval process, and it's not. Now, you can go through the minutes and you can look and see how many non-budgeted items that we bought this year, and it's in the thousands. That's not a proper use of taxpayer funds.
Well, it would be over 50,000 because we just bought a time punch clock.
$49,000 worth of, yeah. So.
Yeah, not
That
disagreeing
was
with
just one time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back and look over the year, the non-budgeted items that we bought, not that we didn't need them or anything else. You always something you need. I'm just saying, it would give us an opportunity to redirect that money, spend it on more things that we want, instead of putting so much into the surplus account. That was,
Would it be possible for you to, I'm wondering if after this discussion and previous ones, would it be possible for you to revamp this resolution into something less wordy and more,
no, I'm not going to
Concise.
put any more time into it. I have put quite a bit already. I think if we are interested, it would be something to get to a discussion group and to get together with finance and legal and come up with a document that's going to reflect what we want to do. The percentages, for instance, I've said 50% of the amount should go here and so on. You may want to change all those things. You may want to change the percentages. You might want to change the amounts, things like that.
well, I think,
So that would be where I think it should go, is for some future discussion someplace.
well, I hate to have a lot of city staff on something that is not, I mean, I feel like I can't stand behind this resolution that's in front of us today. Put it that simply.
right,
I mean,
okay.
I'll just say it right out.
Yeah.
What we have here.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you and I'm hearing you and I'm thinking that there may be some ideas in there that I maybe could get behind, but it's not gonna be this.
No, that's fine, and that's kind of what I expected. But, you know, it kind of gets the ball rolling. It gets you thinking. And as I said, the document itself, you wouldn't need a lot of staff time. It'd be a fairly simple thing for, the attorney would do the final, but the percentages and dollar amounts you have to come up with yourselves. You have to be able to sit down and get together and talk about what it is you want to do. We've never done that as a council. We have never sat down together and decided, what is our vision for the city? What do we want to accomplish? Different things that come up. We've never discussed those. Never. I introduced a resolution in August with very specific ideas of what we wanted to discuss at the behest of Mr. Benash and the mayor. That got shut down.
Okay.
So I didn't expect anything different, but I do think this idea is worthy of some merit, some discussion. So if it could be that we would refer it, first of all, to the staff and see what they think of it, to get their opinion on the thing, or suggest some amounts. Then sit down and figure out exactly what it is that we want to do. Then see if it'll work. Then go about drafting a document. And that shouldn't take, that's what we're supposed to be here for. We haven't done it yet. So it's just an idea that I had, and I thought it might work well for us. If you don't like it, that's fine. But if there is a way that we could move it, talk about it some more, that would be something that I think would be to our benefit.
Well, I think, and I think if we're gonna enter into a discussion, I think that gentleman over there should be part of that discussion also.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So
I just don't want to use a lot of staff time if, you know, if it's just going to get shot down, so.
I agree.
And it's kind of like asking them, if I'm saying, right now, based on my knowledge and experience and this resolution, I'm not going to support this exact resolution, then if we turn it to the staff, then we're asking them to do what? I mean, that's not fair to them either. That's why I guess I was kind of hoping that Jerry would go back, maybe find a couple examples of communities, get something more concise, but then he doesn't think that's the appropriate course of action either. So, I mean, I'm just having a discussion, Jerry, I'm not trying to,
I don't, because the community, they're all different. Everybody's different. They've got just a little bit different way of doing things. And so I don't think it's You know, it's like comparing tax levies. You can compare all you want to, but the communities are so different that budgeting is different. Everything is different. We're our own entity. We're our own community here. And we've got a nice, unique thing going on here. We've got some
Definitely.
opportunities in front of us that I think we should take advantage of. But to do that, we got to really go after it. And I think this might be a way that we could do that. If you're willing to take a look at it, talk about it, see what it is we want to do, how we can accomplish that, what would it cost, then maybe arrive at a document.
Okay, I need someone to make a motion.
Well, I don't know what, I would make a motion that we send this to a special meeting of the Common Council and discuss whether it's something we would like to do.
In a special meeting?
Yeah, a special meeting, take a couple hours and get together and talk about it. Obviously, not everybody's here tonight. I think it'd be improper to not take this to the council meeting then coming up, because not everybody's here now, haven't had a chance to ask questions. So if there's a general feeling that we might like to do this, let's go ahead.
Is there a council member present that would like to ask a question? Can you come up to the speaker, though, just so the transcriptionist can get your words?
Jim Benash, First District. Can you really make a motion on a discussion item? Would be my question.
Oh, that-
And if not, then this is not something you can really move forward then, is it?
I think that's an excellent point.
If not, we'll just put it on the regular agenda of the Common Council. Whatever your wish is.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you, Jerry. Moving on to item 7, authorization to approve bid from Hastings Air Energy Control Incorporated regarding the new vehicle exhaust evacuation system in the fire department, not to exceed $79,798. Chief Billy Hayes, tell us about your air problem.
Good evening, Billy Hayes, Fire Chief, City of Onalaska Fire Department. If you recall, prior to my arrival, the Onalaska Fire Department had submitted a grant request to FEMA and Department of Homeland Security for a vehicle exhaust system for firefighter health and safety. The current vehicles we have, and of course this is a trend throughout the U.S. and the United States Fire Service, is that vehicle exhaust that crank inside the apparatus bay inside the station without some type of exhaust system to capture the carcinogens that come out of the exhaust pose a health and safety threat to firefighters. Of course, firefighter cancer is one of the highest important factors that we're dealing with in the fire service. We were awarded that grant in August, just right after my arrival, for that grant in the amount of $80,000, with the City of Onalaska having an $8,000 matching part, so which we have secured and had that. So we presented RFPs out to request for proposals. FEMA requires that you have 2 come in. We actually did have 2, one from Plymovent and one from MagnaGrip. They're 2 different varieties of exhaust capturing systems. Working with Jared, Assistant Chief Troy Goody, worked with several others, met with the various vendors who did submit, the 2 vendors, and we have come up with a recommendation for the one that is that you have posed in front of you. Some of the factors in our decision-making to go with Plymovent in the amount of $79,798, which is the amount that we are awarded in our grant. One of the important things is La Crosse Fire Department also has Plymovent. Holman Fire Department was also awarded the grant, a Fire Act grant last year, so they are also looking at Plymovent. That provides interoperability. So at our fire department banquet back in January, we had a lacrosse engine standing by at our fire station while our firefighters went to the banquet. They can pull into our bay and hook up to that exhaust system, so it's interoperable, interchangeable. They also can meet a 120-day deadline of installation, whereas MagnaGrip said 160 days, which would put us on the threshold of having to ask for an extension from FEMA, and that creates more paperwork, quite honestly. There was some other factors that came in. Plymouth, not only La Crosse, Black River Falls, Sparta, Fort McCoy, Eau Claire, City of Madison, most of the bigger departments have the Plymouth event. So, and they also have a representative here in Wisconsin, whereas MagnaGrip's representative is out of Ohio. So if we have a service request, it could take anywhere from 2 to 3 days to get somebody here to work on it. So that would be our recommendation, is to go with Plymouth event based on the RFPs that were presented to us.
Excellent, thank you.
I make a motion that we approve the amount of the vehicle exhaust removal system for $79,798.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Jerry to approve the bid from Hastings Air Energy Control, not to exceed $79,798. Is there further discussion? Jerry?
Chief, do we have the grant? Is that money in the house?
Our $8,000 matching portion is secured, so once we start the system, then we request from FEMA for them to send the remaining amount to us, so it'll come in.
And this just says a prepay amounts.
Please disregard the prepay amount. We spoke with Fred. That would create some other logistics that we don't want to get into. It was just an extra discount. We've been awarded the $80,000, and that's what we're going to go for.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking, sir.
Thanks, Billy.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to personnel, review and consideration of monthly department presentations. Hope, did you want to talk about that, or do you want me to?
I'll let you.
Okay, sure. In going through the budgeting process last year, last fall, it occurred to me that commonly council members, and especially new council members, aren't familiar with all the details of the different departments that we have here and how many responsibilities our department heads have, how many personnel we have on staff here. It's really a lot of responsibility. And so I had the idea and talked to Hope about potentially setting up some kind of a schedule where at this meeting each month, one of the department heads made a short presentation, just like 5 minutes or something, talking about their department. I mean, it could be whatever we wanted it to be, like their structure, their staff, their responsibilities, just in an attempt to build rapport with the council and then also make us aware of things outside of the budget process that were going on within the department and that were important to them. So I'm hoping that you guys will be in favor of this, or will at least have a consideration of it.
Would you like to make a motion?
I don't think I should. Now, Jerry and I are going to get in an argument about if I can make a motion or not, so I try to avoid it because I'm,
Because you're for it?
I'll make a motion.
Doesn't make any difference.
Make a motion to do the presentation,
Second.
okay.
monthly department presentation.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Jim, to have a monthly department presentation, and hope you'll be able to coordinate that. Thank you.
A lot of staff time, you know.
Pardon me?
A lot of staff time, you know.
Yeah, I know. I was afraid to even bring it up. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 9, review and consideration of new job descriptions. We'll start with the city attorney. Hope, you're not going to get out of this one.
So just looking at the city attorney, we budgeted for this position to start in July 1st, and we're looking at wanting to get approval of the actual job description. I know it was in the budget process, but I like kind of a second review of it. This really encompasses all the things that we would be looking for in an attorney in-house. and reviewing it with Eric and those kinds of things, and just seeing what are we looking for, what are the degrees and experience do they need to have, as well as, you know, providing legal counsel, not just to our staff, but to our city council, as well as the mayor and other alderpersons or other committees and boards. So I don't know if you have any specific questions, but just kind of drafting this based on our current needs. I think this encompasses a majority of them. I know it's not going to get every single thing, but at least gets a majority of the items that a city attorney should be taking care of. I
Okay.
don't know if Eric has anything to add.
Eric, do you have anything to add?
No, the position description is the same as December, but again, as Hope said, just to further review, perhaps add anything else. But in reviewing that, I think it speaks to really the process, the end product of the process that began quite a while ago.
Okay. Jerry, do you have any questions?
I do. On the first page, item G, assist city staff in lobbying efforts to promote and oppose legislation favorable to the city. Is that, am I not reading that right?
So there might be, like, for example, the League of Municipalities has gone through and working on the dark store loopholes. And so those are the types of things that if they're working with the League of Municipalities or other types of things to try to eliminate some of those issues that other municipalities are having, that's the type of thing we're looking at, not just going out and lobbying for specific items, but
Was to promote and to oppose those. things
potentially
I do not
those.
Agree with.
Correct, that the council doesn't want to see happen. And those, I think, are discussions that have happened at the council level that you guys have said, yeah, we want to do something or, you know, work with these. And I think that's the intent of that piece of that language in there.
Then on the second page, B, he prepares periodic and special reports to whom and about what?
As directed by council or city administrator or by somebody. Yeah.
All right. And then on E, may review the official agenda for the city council meeting to ensure proper legal language is being utilized. We do that now.
The city attorney does that now.
Yeah.
Then the only other question I had, Madam Chairman, is a paralegal. If you're gonna have an attorney, you need a paralegal. I don't remember discussing a paralegal. I know we talked about the attorney, but, so did we budget for a pair?
We did,
We did. And that's part-time.
correct.
Next.
Okay. Eric?
If I may, referencing Jerry's comments on G, offer up perhaps some clarifying language there. On the first page, assist city staff in lobbying efforts to promote or oppose legislation which impacts the city.
Or, yeah, if you said or, that would be.
And then legislation which impacts the city.
Sounds better.
Okay, so we do have one change then.
I think we can consider that clerical. I don't think we need a motion to amend
Okay. Sounds good.
clerical change.
Okay, are we ready to address the city attorney job description? Jerry, go ahead.
One more thing.
Yep, that's okay.
On
This
the
is your last chance.
paralegal, item G, she organizes and schedules meetings and appointments for the city attorney and/or the city administrator as requested. Can be doing your appointments as well?
Are we discussing B right now, the paralegal?
Paralegal.
Read on the record?
I guess we can take them both together. We can take them both together, that's fine.
Yeah, that brings up some further conversation that didn't make the agenda this time around. That position, the paralegal, was always intended to, in 2020, be a full-time position. But since we only had a half a year right now, and with the changes made in the inspection department, with expectation of a retirement in 2020, be able to utilize those funds to do two things. One, the planning tech, which is part-time now, being a full-time position, because that position would then assume lots of the inspection, the property maintenance inspections, the fats, oil, and greases, the erosion control inspections, for example. with one less inspector, then that would move over to a different position. And then my intent, as per the plan, was also utilize those saved funds to make the paralegal administrative assistant position for what would be the confidential suite, if you will, the administrator, the human resources, and the legal team, to do just those things, talking about organizing my schedule right now as a full-time position. We have had a resignation in the inspection department. Therefore, the plan, which can roll out in 2020, we could actually now do in 2019. We would have those funds available. So one request would be at this point in time to change the title from a part-time administrative assistant paralegal to a full-time administrative assistant paralegal, because the request we're also making is to begin the recruitment of that. As we know that if we're recruiting a part-time person, that may be a different person than a full-time, someone who's looking for full-time work. And we may be able to get a different quality, an experienced person who's looking for full-time work instead. So there's no notice of that. I apologize for that. It occurred recently, but that's a consideration that we've been presenting to you in 2020 as the second part of that reorg that I had proposed this, which was passed this year. The opportunity has arisen to do that in 2019.
So is it better to move forward with the city attorney job description and review and consideration and hold back with the paralegal until these details are worked out with more clarity? Hope?
The position wouldn't change, the description wouldn't change. It would be simply when Hope begins the recruitment process, are recruiting a part-time or a full-time position, instead of recruiting a part-time now and then next year.
But the first thing you said about it is you would hope that it would be someone with more credentials.
Correct. The credentials wouldn't change, but then who's applying for that work? Applying for a full-time job versus a part-time job.
Okay, Jerry, did you have a question?
Our financials wouldn't change then. Our budgeted money is exactly the same, so that's, did a good job.
It would be overspent in what was budgeted for legal, but underspent in inspection.
So we're going to approve that change next meeting?
Well, that's one consideration. We could amend the position description in front of you to simply change it to full-time now, and then next week, that position, as amended to full-time, would then be approved, we hope, to begin the recruitment process.
I'd recommend we take them separately and then change it.
Yeah, okay, Hope has a comment too.
And I was just going to reiterate, I have already got information for the council agenda to take the paralegal position and change the position from a part-time to a full-time for that, so it'll be on the non-consent to address that, seeing how initially when we had put the agenda together, we hadn't had all that information regarding the resignation and moving on some of these decisions sooner rather than later. But it does make sense when we're doing the recruitment rather than doing the recruitment for the part-time to also have that full-time, seeing how it was budgeted. I mean, the plan is to do it for 2020.
So what you're saying is regardless of what we do right now, when it goes to council, you're already going to be asking for something different,
We are.
or theoretically.
Trying to speed the process up tonight. That's
All right, all right, all right.
I'm trying to be efficient.
Okay, sounds good. I think this is, organizationally, this is something we've already agreed to, just a change in the timeline. So to me, it's not that big of a change, but I'll entertain a motion to approve the job descriptions.
So moved.
Second.
And then, any more discussion? Go ahead, Jerry.
Want to amend the P9B to full-time?
Yeah,
Make an amendment?
Second.
okay. So we're going to amend the paralegal job description to be a full-time position. We'll vote on the amendment first. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So now we'll vote on the motion with the amendment. So that would be both the city attorney and the paralegal as full-time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to item 10, review and consideration of filling the budgeted positions for the city attorney and the paralegal. Hope you have a game plan for that.
Essentially, what we're looking to do is getting the city attorney posting likely for a month or an open until filled type of deal. And so because we're going to be starting in March, the goal is obviously, hopefully we'll have some applicants that we can interview and start the interview process so that more than likely whoever we would potentially hire is going to have clients and things that they're going to have to close up with their business, that they would have to have enough time to give notice for that. So we're really kind of doing as much anticipation as we can so we could potentially have that person start on July 1st. So that's really the goal, is to have all of their recruitment and hopefully a hiring decision by May so that they have plenty of time for that June to give notice and take care of any clients or things that they may have residual.
Okay. Are there any questions on that? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Budgeted positions?
Second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Jim,
Well, if it's delayed, we just.
to proceed with review and consideration of filling the budgeted positions of city attorney and paralegal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 11 is the amended item, review and consideration of out-of-state travel for Chief Hayes to attend the Fire Department Instructors Conference International in Indianapolis, Indiana, from Wednesday, April 10th to April 13th. Would the
I'll let the chief
yeah.
speak on that.
just give us a brief overview of how exciting this is going to be for you.
Thank you. Apologies for the amendment. I'm still
That's
learning
okay.
the system of trying to stay a month or two ahead of the system, so I apologize for that. The Fire Department Instructors Conference is the largest fire conference in the nation as to date. I have been selected as a presenter, thus they will cover all airfare and lodging to the event, so it will cost the city nothing other than meals and my time away. Due to our travel budget, we were unfortunately not able to send other firefighters to attend because of, it is the largest exhibit. As you know, potentially next year we'll be looking at funding for our aerial apparatus. It's at its lifespan. This is the conference where they have the largest number of vendors to where we can look at specifications. So that'll give me the opportunity to go and see that versus spending money allocated for firefighters, which would deplete our travel and training budget where we train elsewhere for firefighters. So that would be the request. Again, this was something I had submitted and was accepted as a presenter prior to my appointment as the fire chief. This is the last one that I have at that point. So,
What is the topic of your presentation?
privilege of leadership, lessons from history.
Excellent.
Doing pieces and segments with the fire department. In fact, last night at our training session, I did another segment of it. So
Cool. Could invite us sometime.
be honored.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Jim to approve the out-of-state travel for Chief Hayes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12 is to consider a motion under Section 19.85, Paragraph 1, Paragraph G of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, city snowplow damage to parked vehicle. If any action is required in open session as a result of the closed session, the committee will reconvene in open session to take the necessary action and/or continue on with the printed agenda.
Motion to go into closed.
Second.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Jerry. Under roll call, Jim Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Every,
Aye.
Kim Smith, aye. We are in closed session.